And in Ask Quetzal, we respond Metallic Mexico Prehispánico, who ask about my opinion regarding when I think Panquetzaliztli was celebrated. And I suppose they are also referring to the possible celebration of the birth of Huitzilopochtli. To understand these questions, let me briefly explain. Imagine if a disaster affected the whole country, and within a few years we lost a lot of information. Then, just a few decades after the tragedy, there would be no record left of us celebrating the start of the year of January 1st. It would seem unbelievable, right? But this is essentially what happened with pre-Hispanic cultures. Important data like this was forgotten, even though also almost every culture had its own New Year. Today, however, we don't have fully certainty about when each culture celebrated its New Year. We have clues based on codices and astronomical alignments, providing us with many references and some dates from colonial sources, but we have more doubts than certainties. What we don't know is that there were 18 periods of time, each consisting of 20 days. These periods were the equivalent of 12 months today. Now, in the question, Metal Mexico Prehispánico refers to the word Panquetzaliztli. This was one of the 18 periods in the year, at least among the Mexica. Its translation is the Feast of the Raising of the Banners. This month, or veintena, was important for the Mexica because it symbolically celebrated the birth of their main deity, Huitzilopochtli. Now, what time of the year might this veintena have been? We all know that Christianity was imposed on much of the continent, and this is one of the least original religions in history. Many of its celebrations and symbols were simply appropriated from other beliefs, imposing its vision over the others. This is why the supposed birth of Jesus was placed on what we know as December 24th or 25th. Obviously, if Jesus was born, it wasn't on that date, but they chose that time for the following reason. 4 millions of years around December 21st or 22nd each year, the phenomenon of the winter solstices occurs in the northern hemisphere and the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. This phenomenon refers to the apparent halt of the sun's movement further south along the horizon during sunrise. Many cultures in the northern hemisphere, Egyptians, Mesopotamians, Greeks, Romans, Celts, Mayans, Olmecs, etc., observed this same phenomenon in the sky, no matter where they were on the planet. In all these cultures, sky watchers would see the sun stopping towards the south at these dates. This event was often symbolized as the birth of solar deities since the sun began to generate more heat, pushing back the darkness. Examples of such deities included Mitra in Europe and Huitzilopochtli among the Mexica, among many others. Thus, the celebration of Huitzilopochtli birth was created around this astronomical event, possibly falling on December 21st or 22nd. With the birth of Jesus, Christianity tried to suppress these ancient beliefs. However, it would have been inevitable that Panquetzaliztli would have coincided with this time of year. Adding to this, we have pre-Hispanic date assigned by a converted indigenous man named Domingo Chimalpain, who stated that the day Tenochtitlan fell, August 13th, 1521, was during this veintena. If we know how the calendar is structured, we can reconstruct it, and this would give us a possible start of the year around March 2nd, applying the Gregorian reform of 1582. Given that Panquetzaliztli was the 15th veintena of the year, and considering this theory, it would mean that Panquetzaliztli might have run from December 17 to January 50 on the European calendar. and as I mentioned earlier, Christianity's lack of originality in attempting to eradicate the worship of Huitzilopochtli would later embed the cult of the Virgin of Guadalupe over Panquetzaliztli and the winter solstices. Of course, these are just hypotheses, and we can be 100% sure that Panquetzaliztli was celebrated on these dates. But based on the winter solstices, there's a good chance that Panquetzaliztli was observed during the aforementioned 20-day period. That's all for now. As always, if you have any questions, ask Quetzal.